Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. We've got a lot to talk about today and not nearly enough time to talk about everything we want to talk about. So I just want to talk about very briefly. This is pre-recorded, so by the time you're hearing this, we might be in the middle of a winter storm. What I've seen so far is 3 to 7 inches, which is not a lot for the Northeast, but a lot of people have been hoping and praying that the snow holds off, but it looks like by the time you're listening to this, we will be in the middle of a winter storm of some sort. So hope you're all prepared. I hope to be by the end of this evening so that I can get out and my wife can get out and do her chores or whatever she needs to do. So the first thing I want to cover is this is a sad situation, but I needed to acknowledge it. Thoughts and prayers go out to the family of, Sarah Beckstrom. She is the National Guard member who was shot and killed Thursday. She died on Thursday from her injuries. She was shot the day before by an Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 through the Operation Allies Welcome program. Apparently, this guy was not an ally, because why would he do what he did? And there is another National Guardsman, Andrew Wolf, who is still in the hospital with serious injuries. And like I said, I just wanted to acknowledge thoughts and prayers going out to not just the families of those National Guardsmen, but everyone who is in any form of service, whether you be National Guard, whether you be in full-time service to the nation, whether you be any kind of law enforcement. Be safe. We stand with you. We stand with you. And when we hear people like me hear about what happened last week, it strikes a nerve. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but it made me angry that we are a nation that welcomes people from all corners of the world. And when someone comes to this country and does this to someone in our country out of disrespect, that's what it is. It's hate and disrespect. It really hurts, and it really makes me angry. And we need to, hopefully the federal government will work on fixing this and dealing with a lot of, because this Afghan national is probably not a lone actor. He's probably not the only one who feels the way this person felt when he pulled the trigger on these National Guardsmen who were doing nothing more than providing safety and security to everyone in Washington, D.C. So I just want to acknowledge that, and like I said, thoughts and prayers out to the families of the two National Guardsmen. But I just wanted to say, with respect to anybody who's helping to provide safety to all the rest of us in this country, there are a lot of us who stand with you. And right here, Right Side Up, we stand with you. And I just needed to make sure that people hear that and understand it. I wanted to very briefly go and do a little bit of background. I've covered this before. This article I found is from thefederalist.com. 2 National Guardsmen shot after Democrats dubbed their presence in D.C. an occupation. This article is dated November 26, 2025, and it's got some older information. But I wanted to just give a little bit of a recap really quickly. Democrats have relentlessly fomented fear and hatred of troops deployed to help reduce crime and violence. 2 National Guardsmen sent to Washington, D.C. to assist in the Trump's administration's quest to clean up the capital city were shot on Wednesday after Democrats spent months claiming the Guardsmen's presence in the swamp was authoritarian and illegal. Let's see. I'm going to skip throughout some of this. There was a 29-year-old, like I said, Afghan national who allegedly overstayed the U.S. special immigrant visa offered to him by the Biden administration during the country's 2021 collapse. While the suspect's exact motive has yet to be confirmed, even D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, who once called President Trump's National Guard plans an authoritarian push, agreed it was a targeted shooting. Ever since Trump announced in August that he would return policing control in Washington, D.C. to federal law enforcement, Democrats have vilified the National Guard in the capital city. The National Guard's presence indisputably curbed D.C.'s crime rate. 1 week into National Guard boots on the ground in the nation's capital, the city known for its high homicide rate went 7 days without a single murder. Almost immediately, carjackings also decreased by 83%. Robberies fell by 46%. Car thefts dropped by 21%. And overall, violent crime reduced by 22%. But this was all authoritarian, ladies and gentlemen. Despite the crime reduction, Democrats continued to condemn Trump and the Guard. The Blue Party's allegations to the Guardsmen's presence was an occupation led to protests where ranks were ridiculed for following orders. Shortly after Trump's August declaration, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries claimed the plan to federalize D.C. law enforcement has no basis in law and would put the safety of the people of the nation's capital in danger. We stand with the residents of District Columbia and reject this unjustified power grab as illegitimate, Jeffries concluded. Representative Maxine Waters added to the dogpile by arguing that the deployment confirmed Trump clearly hates black people. This would-be dictator is using confrontational tactics to provoke blacks, Latinos, and others into a standoff. He is just itching to invoke martial law, and yes, even push for civil war, Waters continued. Representative Jamie Raskin, added that the National Guard was a textbook authoritarian maneuver, and Senator Chris Van Hollen called it a total abuse of power, so Trump could play dictator in Washington. Their veiled threats only intensified after a district judge tried to hamper the Trump administration with a ruling declaring the National Guard's D.C. deployment illegal. Senator Lisa Slotkin, one of the so-called seditious six, who encouraged the military to disobey orders, used her TV appearance days before the attack to suggest that the National Guardsmen tasked with quelling crime in major cities would, quote, get nervous, get stressed, end quote, and then, quote, shoot at American civilians, end quote. So, let's see. There's the article goes on, but I just wanted to cover a little bit of that and the rhetoric that led up to the shooting of these two National Guardsmen who were doing nothing more than providing safety and proving through their actions and statistics that their actions and their presence there was working. And the people of D.C., regardless of color, ethnicity, background, financial background, everything, everybody in D.C. was acknowledging that the city was safer, and it was also cleaner as well. So I wanted to give a little bit of background on that, and then I wanted to go to bring this back to local and crime locally in Vermont. Okay, we have people who call gun laws, restrictive gun laws, that restrict law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights. There are people like the Congress people that I listed from the Federalist article. They would call gun control legislation common sense gun control. So I want to bring this, like I said, bring it home. This is an article that I found on Vermont Daily Chronicle, dated, November 28, 2025. Breaking: Orleans County man busted for illegal gun buys while facing felonies in 2 states. Okay, and I want to just reiterate, quote unquote, common sense gun laws. They don't make any sense. But anyway, I just want to keep plucking that nerve for you, okay? Just so people get an idea of who you're dealing with. People who intend to commit crimes have no intention of following rules or laws. And this article is just another example of proof of that. And this article is by Mike Donahue. This originally came from Vermont News First. A Derby line man who is facing felony charges in 2 states, including Vermont, for stealing military-grade ballistic helmets from his employer, has now been charged in federal court with lying during the purchase of 2 firearms at a Northeast Kingdom gun shop. Angel Elias Estremera, 26, also possessed 5 other firearms unlawfully that were unknown to law enforcement when they conducted a court-ordered search at his Derby Line residence late last month. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives said in court papers, federal court papers. The 5 extra guns were found in a gun safe at his home, the ATF said. Estremera also had obtained a 9mm semi-automatic pistol on July 29 and a Glock 45 caliber semi-automatic pistol on August 11 from Wright's Sports Shop in Newport. Federal court records maintain. The 9mm gun was found in a dresser at the residence. Let's see, I lost my place here. But Estremera was unable to say where the 45 caliber handgun was located, except he thought he might have left it at an unidentified friend's home right when he bought it, the ATF said. During the 2 purchases, Estremera provided multiple false statements, including that he was not facing any felony charges, the ATF said in a sworn affidavit. He reaffirmed that claim when he picked up both weapons, the ATF said. In reality, Estremera was out on conditions from Vermont Superior Court in Newport on November 19, 2024, in a felony case of grand larceny for reportedly stealing military-grade ballistic helmets while employed by Galvion in Newport, the ATF said. So this Estremera has demonstrated that the truth has no meaning to him. All right. Estremera was facing a charge in Hartford, Connecticut on February 26 for criminal possession of a pistol or revolver, a 10-year felony, court papers note. A Connecticut judge released Estremera on conditions including he not possess firearms or ammunition, court records said. So how many lies must be told? But these are common sense gun laws, right? Common sense gun laws, remember that. Based on a federal arrest warrant, Orleans County Deputy Sheriff Antonio Batista, working with the ATF, pulled over Estremera while he was driving on Lake Road in Newport City on October 28th, court records show. Batista placed Estremera's cell phone on the roof of the car as ATF agents questioned him. The ATF subsequently requested from a federal judge a search warrant for the cell phone, which was logged as evidence in the case. The ATF said Estremera, during the gun purchases, provided a home address on Caswell Avenue in Derby Line, but surveillance in October failed to show he was not living there. Further investigation revealed he had purchased a 2015 white Subaru Forester on October 14th, and while claiming Caswell Avenue as his home address, Estremera did list 53 Mountain View Drive in Derby Line as his residence on one document, records show. So here we go again with these statements do not add up. It's the home of a girlfriend or a spouse, the ATF said. For both gun purchases, Estremera was initially cleared by the FBI within a week on a background check, records show. Federal court records indicate Wrights was notified on October 8th that the 2 purchases, upon further review, should have been denied under the National Instant Crime Background Check System. This is the system you fill out when you're looking to purchase a firearm. It is the Form 4473, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to need to pick this up after the break because I've run out of time in our first segment, but we will definitely pick this up after we pay some bills. You're listening to Right Side Up.
Change your oil the Vermont way. At Vermont Quick Lube in Barrie, you don't need an appointment, you don't need to wait around, and you don't even need to get out of your car. Unlike the competition, we use a pit system, so you stay cozy inside your vehicle while our technicians work efficiently underneath. We'll have you back on the road in 15 minutes. Every oil change includes oil and filter replacement, vital fluid top-offs, tire pressure check, wiper and light check, and an air filter inspection. And those checks aren't just for show. We can replace your wipers, fix your lights, and install a new air filter while you wait. We offer both full synthetic and conventional oil options, and our technicians will help you choose what's best for your vehicle. But wait, we're more than oil changes. Vermont Quick Lube is your complete automotive service center. We offer Vermont state inspections, brake and suspension service, tire changeovers and rotations, cooling system maintenance and flushes, belts and hoses, tune-ups, exhaust work, and diagnostics. Skip the waiting room. Drive in and let Vermont Quick Lube take care of you and your vehicle. Vermont Quick Lube. Quality, quick, and convenient service. Visit us at 679 South Barrie Road, online at vermontlube.com, or call us at 802-476-7571.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. I want to get right back into this discussion here, and it basically the point of this whole thing is to show that we have a system that's supposed to be checking and preventing criminals, or in this case, somebody who's already got criminal charges, to prevent them from possessing or purchasing firearms, because they've demonstrated that they are a danger to either themselves or society or both. So we have a system that I'm trying to demonstrate that if we actually had the deterrent value that this system affords us, if we were actually using it, maybe it would help to prevent worse crimes, especially violent crimes. Okay, let me get into this here. Let me see. All right, so he was denied under the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. The ATF said it was alerted by rights on October 16th about the violations, and federal agents began trying to recover the firearms from Estremera. Federal Magistrate Judge Kevin Doyle agreed to release Estremera on strict conditions, including his travel is restricted to Vermont and Connecticut, and he was ordered to surrender his passport. Now, I've got a question about this. This really had got my radar up. We have a situation in this state now where we have a known criminal who's committed crimes, including perjury, which is a federal crime, and he's committed federal crimes, acquiring firearms when he knows he is prohibited. He's a prohibited person. And he was not held on these charges. He was released on conditions. Doyle also told Estremera that he is not to commit any new federal, state, or local crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a criminal. Criminals don't abide by the same laws and rules that honest, law-abiding citizens do. He's already demonstrated his lack of respect for the criminal code, his lack of respect for what civil society understands is norms of behavior. But here we are. Let's see, and we'll be under federal pretrial supervision. Well, will he be supervised when he enters a gun shop one more time and tries to buy another gun? He is to refrain from possessing guns and drugs, including marijuana. Judge Doyle also set December 18th for a probable cause hearing, or it could turn into a formal arraignment of a federal grand jury if a federal grand jury indicts Estremera on any charges. Estremera's criminal cases in state court in Orleans County were recently resolved. State's Attorney Farza Levia said Friday. Estremera was placed on probation for 4 years for the grand larceny charge and for 2 years on unlawful trespass conviction. Let's see. Estremera also has to make $1,056 in restitution. Well, my question to you, ladies and gentlemen, is does the punishment fit the crime? In my estimation, the answer to that is no. I just wanted to get a little bit deeper into this. I did a little inquiry and just about lying on the ATF form. And I just want to give you a little bit of statistics to show you how we have a system in place. And the system, in my estimation, is not used nearly enough. Lying on an ATF form 4473, firearm transaction record, is a federal felony, primarily under 18 U.S.C. subsection 922A6, which prohibits knowingly making any false oral or written statement intended or likely to deceive a federally licensed firearm dealer with respect to any fact material to the lawfulness of a firearm sale or transaction, which is what this Mr. Estremera actually did. He committed this crime. This covers common lies such as denying a prior felony conviction, domestic violence, misdemeanor, drug use or addiction, illegal immigration status, dishonorable discharge, or mental health adjudication, which are questions 21B through 21L on the current form. The maximum penalty is imprisonment for up to 10 years, a fine of up to $250,000 or both. Note, straw purchasing or trafficking related false statements can carry up to 15 years under related provisions enhanced in 2022, but standard purchaser lies on the form itself fall under the 10-year maximum. Now, my question is, will the authorities in Orleans find the .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol that apparently has still not been recovered? And would it be applicable to use the straw purchasing or trafficking related false statement if that gun was then sold to someone else? Because then it ups the number of years that you could go to jail by 5 years. Let's see. Related charges can sometimes be brought under 18 U.S.C. subsection 924A1A for knowingly making false statements in a dealer's record of up to 5 years, or subsection 1001 for false statements to the government. And this person made both. He committed both. The Crime Prevention Research Center, CPRC, led by John Lott, frequently highlights that prosecutions for these offenses are extremely rare relative to the number of apparent violations detected through the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS. In his 2022 congressional testimony and related writings, Lott noted that in fiscal year 2017, there were 112,090 NICS denials, many involving prohibited persons allegedly lying on the form, but only 12,710, or approximately 11%, were even referred by ATF headquarters to field offices for possible investigation. Why such a small percentage? This is what bothers me. Let's see. And federal U.S. attorney's offices prosecuted just 12 cases with 10 more pending as of mid-2018, representing about 0.01% of all denials. This, ladies and gentlemen, the deterrent value is lost. We have a system in place. Why are we wasting our time making laws, having statutes, having Congress having state legislatures go through the process of deliberating and voting on and putting into place statutes. Why are we wasting our time? We need to start holding people accountable for the statutes that we already have in place. Let's see. CPRC uses these figures to argue that the background check system provides little deterrent effect, as prohibited persons face almost no risk of punishment beyond being denied at the point of sale, and many obtain firearms illegally anyway. And we know that to be the case. And I want to bring it back to the first segment, where we had an individual who apparently with a revolver shot 2 National Guardsmen and killed one, and one is still in critical condition. Now, that we haven't found out yet if that gun was illegally purchased or not. But this man was shot, and he was actually apprehended shot and apprehended because he was trying to reload, and that's what happened. That's how other National Guardmen were able to subdue this person. This low prosecution rate is corroborated by nonpartisan government sources. A 2018 Government Accountability Office GAO report found that federal prosecutions for denial-related false statements under subsection 922A6 are minimal due to resource constraints, difficulty proving knowing intent, evidentiary challenges, for example, old, out-of-date state records, and competing law enforcement priorities. Prosecutors often view these cases as low impact compared to violent gun crimes. Well, my question in relation to that is, if you are taking more people out of the system or putting them in the system for lying, trying to obtain a gun, maybe you're going to prevent more violent crime anyway. From fiscal year 2011 to 2017, ATF referrals for denial investigations rose significantly, but actual federal prosecutions remain in the low dozens annually nationwide. This, ladies and gentlemen, I think really needs to change, because that's how you send a message that you're going to get caught before you're able to commit a violent crime. We need, ladies and gentlemen, law-abiding citizens, voters, landowners, business owners need to get back to feeling safe the way they once did in this beautiful Green Mountain state. Don't you agree? A 2016 DOJ Office of Inspector General audit, frequently cited by CPRC, similarly criticized ATF for inconsistent handling of denials and noted very few prosecutions overall from 1998 onward, even in cases where prohibited persons received firearms via delayed transfers. Most states do not investigate or prosecute these cases at all. 10 of 13 reviewed POC states in the GAO report did 0 investigations or prosecutions. And even in the few that do, for example, Pennsylvania, Oregon, or Virginia, convictions are often misdemeanors with light penalties, probation or fines rather than prison. Recent years have seen some increase in overall federal gun crime prosecutions. DOJ reported over 14,000 firearms-related defendants charged in 2020, and ATF has publicized aggressive pursuit of lie on 4473 cases since 2023. But specific 922A6 numbers remain low, typically in the low dozens to low hundreds federally per year, based on U.S. Sentencing Commission and DOJ data patterns for these statutes. Compared to annual NICS denials, 180 to 300,000 plus in recent years, though many denials are later overturned on appeal or involve errors. High-profile exceptions, such as Hunter Biden's 2024 conviction for lying about drug use on a 4473, are rare and often involve additional charges. In short, while the offense is a serious felony on paper, reliable sources across the spectrum, CPRC, GAO, DOJ, and OIG, agree that actual enforcement via prosecution is exceptionally uncommon with fewer than 0.1% of apparent violations typically resulting in federal charges. This, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is a problem. Now, there are some people who say you can't incarcerate your way out of this problem. And there are plenty of people who say, yes, you can. My question to you is, would you rather have a prison full of low-level offenders because we caught them before they were more violent offenders, had victimized more people, or would you rather have a prison population full of violent offenders who were multiple repeat offenders, and the system finally said, we finally need to do something to you because the public is so outraged? Why must we get to that point? I talk about the broken windows policy on this show numerous times. It seems like I've been talking about it forever. And there are cities and towns where it has been proven to work. When you use the broken windows policy, when you prosecute, when you charge the low-level offenders, you wind up getting the higher level, the more aggressive, the people with tendencies toward violence, because the low-level offenders are actually aiding law enforcement in finding the higher-level offenders. So we're going to continue this in a little bit. We've run out of time again, so we're going to have to pay some bills, but we will return. You're listening to Right Side Up.
From your logo to your look, Yipes brings your brand to life. Need custom shirts, eye-catching signs, or full-color vehicle graphics? The crew at Yipes have you covered with screen printing, embroidery, full vehicle wraps, and all your custom designs that make your logo stand out anywhere. And when it's time to take care of your ride, Yipes, Berry & Bevan & Sons is your go-to for remote car starters, spray-on bed liners, auto accessories, and general maintenance that keep your car fine-tuned and looking sharp. Yipes, Berry & Bevan & Sons. Local, creative, and ready to serve. Visit us at 439 North Main Street or give us a call at 802-479-0055.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. We're going to get back into our discussion momentarily, but I just wanted to remind our listeners, if for some reason you like to drop us a line, rightsideUpradio@gmail.com. If you, for some reason, can't find us on the radio, get on your computer or your smartphone, find WNTK.com. Find the podcast button, click on it, and scroll down to Right Side Up, and you can listen to any number of our shows in podcast form any time of the day or night, and you can share it. You can find us on Podbean. You can find us on 802 Scoop Facebook. You can find us on 802 Scoop YouTube, and you can also find us on GraniteGrock.com. So just wanted to put that back out there, and I want to get back into some more statistics. I hope I'm not boring you with this, but I want to reiterate that if we have these statutes on the books, then we should be using them. And the idea that we can't incarcerate our way out of this, to me, is the wrong way to be looking at this, trying to solve this problem. Why are we not looking at it from a standpoint of, does our constituency, do the hardworking, honest, law-abiding citizens of this state of Vermont, or any other state for that matter, does their safety and security matter to us? And if the answer is yes, then we need to be applying these laws. If the laws apply to someone who has broken them, who has violated the trust of society, of the people who are abiding by the laws, then the law needs to be applied to them however it's written. And if there need to be changes, that can be done. We make changes to statute all the time in the legislatures around the country and nationally. So the name of the leader of the country in South America who's got, I forgot how many gang leaders he's got in prison, but he went from being the leader of one of the least safe countries in the world to the leader of the safest country in the world, because he took people committing crimes and he put them behind bars. It was that simple. It was that simple. We have states like, Ohio, that changed their gun licensing laws and made it easier for law-abiding citizens to acquire guns. And guess what happened, ladies and gentlemen? Violent crime went down because violent criminals know now in the state of Ohio that there's going to be somebody who might fight back so that they won't actually commit a crime. And the other statistic that didn't come up in this, but I know it's a very big and very effective statistic, that's why it's not mentioned very much on the left. There are somewhere between 500,000 and 3 million Second Amendment uses of a firearm in self-defense. And I mean uses meaning someone just actually displayed their ability to defend themselves to a potential criminal. And that was enough to stop the crime. And they don't get reported because, the criminal's not going to call the police and say, well, somebody fought back and I'm really upset. I'm really upset about that. So this is one of those things that it provides us with proof that the Second Amendment is there for a reason and it works. It really, truly does work. So I want to get back into a little bit more of the details I was able to find. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, BSCA, signed June 25, 2022, did not directly increase the statutory maximum penalty for a prohibited person's false statement on Form 4473 under 18 U.S.C. subsection 922A6. That remains up to 10 years imprisonment or 15 years in some aggravated cases involving aliens or certain repeat offenders under related provisions. However, the law has had a clear measurable impact on enforcement and prosecutions related to lying on the 4473 in these key ways. New criminal statutes for straw purchasing and trafficking. BSCA created 2 new federal felonies that directly address common forms of 4473 perjury. Straw purchasing, 18 U.S.C. subsection 932, knowingly purchasing or conspiring to purchase a firearm for a prohibited person, max 15 years. So somebody approaches me, I'm not a prohibited person, but they offer me a large wad of cash to purchase a firearm for someone else. That's unlawful. That's a violation of this statute and has a maximum of 15 years in prison. The other is firearms trafficking, 18 U.S.C. subsection 933, transferring firearms to prohibited persons or for unlawful use, a maximum of 25 years. Previously, many straw purchases were prosecuted under the lower penalty, 922A6, false statement statute or false records entries, 924A1A, maximum of 5 years. The new law allows significantly higher sentences for organized or large-scale cases involving lies on the 4473 by straw buyer. As of June 2024, 2 years post-enactment, DOJ has charged more than 500 defendants under these new BSCA straw trafficking statutes, including cases tied to transnational cartels, gang activity, and smuggling operations. Many of these involve defendants who repeatedly lied on Form 4473 to acquire dozens or hundreds of guns for others. This represents a major shift as pre-BSCA straw cases often received lighter penalties or were bundled into other charges. Broader enforcement increases. Let's see. The Act provided substantial new funding to ATF, approximately $200 million plus for hiring, technology, and operations, and supported DOJ's, quote, violent crime reduction, end quote, strategy, which explicitly prioritizes prosecuting straw purchasers, traffickers, rogue dealers, and lie and try cases. Federal firearms prosecutions overall rose sharply. Total firearms defendants charged reached record or near record levels in fiscal year 2023 and 2024, typically 10 to 15,000 annually across all statutes, up from pre-2022 levels. The share of other firearms offenses, including regulatory violations and the new BSCA categories, hit 21.9% of federal firearms cases in 2023, the highest on record. In other words, charging these crimes actually worked from a law enforcement standpoint, explicitly attributed by analysts, to BSCA's new tools. ATF dealer inspections and revocations surged, over 5 times increase in revocations in some reports, leading to more prosecutions for unlicensed dealing and records violations than often involve false 4473 entries. Let's see. Let's look at some of the lie and try cases. Enforcement increased modestly but meaningfully here due to policy shifts rather than statutory changes. ATF and U.S. attorneys' offices have publicized more 922A6 lie and try prosecutions since 2023, often as part of strike forces in high violence cities. U.S. Sentencing Commission data show sentences for false statements offer offenses 922A6 and 924A1A rose from historic lows, dozens annually in the 2010s, to several hundred per year in 2023 to 2024, consistent with the broader uptick we discussed. Approximately 567 sentences in the false statement category for fiscal year 2024. However, these still represent less than 0.3% of annual NICS denials involving apparent prohibited person lies, so the deterrent effect remains limited per CPRC and GAO critiques. Now, I wonder, ladies and gentlemen, if this just is a sign that there are just not enough prosecutors, or is it a sign that there are not enough prison beds because there are judges and state's attorneys who would much rather charge a lesser crime or put someone on probation. And then the question comes down to, if the person has already tried to lie and try to buy a gun, what will keep them from committing crimes when they're out on probation? Let's see, other relevant changes. Enhanced NICS checks for buyers under 21 requiring juvenile record searches, resulting in roughly 100,000+ additional checks and nearly 1,000 extra denials in the first 18 to 24 months, some involving false statements about juvenile history that could support a subsection 922A6 charge. Funding for state crisis intervention and red flag laws and burn JAG grants encourage some states to refer more denial cases for prosecutions, though most states still do little. In summary, BSCA's primary impact on 4473 related perjury has been to give prosecutors stronger tools and higher penalties for straw trafficking cases, 500+ charged under new laws alone, while contributing to a broader doubling or tripling of regulatory firearms prosecutions overall. For more prohibited person lie and try violations, the increase is real but smaller in scale. The absolute number of prosecutions is now 10 to 40% higher than the 2017 baseline of approximately 12 per year, but still a tiny fraction of opportunities. The law enforcement's legacy is more about targeting organized straw trafficking networks than individual prohibited purchasers. Fiscal year 2025 full year data ending September 2025 is not yet publicly available as of September 2025, but the trend of elevated prosecutions has continued. So I didn't really want to have one subject for the entire show, but it seems to make sense with what's going on. We've got more and more violent crime, not just in our big cities in the state of Vermont, but statewide, because, we've seen Burlington, it's gotten completely out of control. And what happens is the crime just kind of metastasizes and it spreads. And it spread to rural Vermont because, the criminals don't need to just hop on 91 or 89 and come to the big cities. They can stop on the way and, commit their crimes, whatever they may be, in the smaller towns, because it's just with the lack of prosecutions, that's what you're going to get with this quote unquote revolving door, this problem we have with the need for bail reform. This is what you wind up getting. So I just wanted to point out the fact that we do have these laws, and we need to be urging states' attorneys, federal prosecutors, judges, legislators to be vigilant in enforcing all of the laws that we have. If we come down to a problem where we need more prison beds, then that's going to be a problem that we need to address. And the question comes up then is, where do we want the person who is prone to commit crimes to be? Do we want them out on the street victimizing hardworking, tax-paying, honest, law-abiding citizens? Or do we want them in a prison bed, locked up, where they can be kept from people who want to live quietly and peacefully among others? And I think the answer is yes. We want them living in confinement where we know that the rest of us can live our lives safely. So just wanted to put that out there. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, especially after this show, stay safe, stay informed, listen to Right Side Up.